This is a really cool new initiative. And to give you an idea of where I'm standing, this is the old Peachtree building, just here. Okay. So this is pretty well the main road that comes into town. And look at this. This is so cool. So it's a tribute to Doug. How good is it? So, when I say Doug Clark, and you knew him as well as anybody, what springs to your mind, Dave Lundstrom?
Miller Lite beer. It's gotta be Miller Lite beer.
I mean, there's more to him than that, though, right? I mean,
Good
what
times,
a character.
The laugh. Great with everybody.
What was that big sign you had in your race shop? And he loved it. Remember
Black
that?
Magic.
Yeah.
Black
That kind of sums him up, doesn't it?
Black Magic.
How long did you know him for?
I don't know, a long time. He gave every flag under the rainbow to my cars, the black flag included.
Yeah. I feel like he's still here, you know, like his essence is everywhere here, Dave, you know?
He will never leave.
Yeah.
He'll never leave.
It's so cool that Justin is here to continue that tradition, and I think that's where everybody's feeling right now. It's just to look after Justin, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's handling it very well. Obviously, most of us don't know how to handle something like that, but hats off to him and his family.
You got to give me, everyone's doing it, you got to give me a Doug laugh. That's really good, Dave. Have you practiced that?
Just in front of the mirror.
That was almost black magic, mate. That was great. Good job. Wayne Johnson, when I say Doug Clark, what do you think?
Well, think lots of things. One thing, legend. Second thing I can say is sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield. That was mine and his motto.
So, did he put you to the rear at any time?
Oh yeah, that's where that come from.
All right, so tell me about the tornado.
Oh man, many moons ago, we were all drinking beer under the grandstands, and I went to take a shower out in the toter home, and about the time I was pretty butt naked, taking a shower, the sirens went off, so I'm trying to get clothes on, and I'm running back up to the grandstands, and there's Clark drinking beer. He said, come on, let's get in we got in the cooler, because that was like, I guess, the tornado shelter, and then we drank beer in there for a couple hours till they made us leave.
You got to do me a Doug Clark laugh.
I can't do that.
Yeah, come on.
I can't do it.
Just try.
I'm not even a good actor.
Come on. See, I knew you'd get
Give
there.
me a Miller Lite.
Ed, when I say Doug Clark, what pops into your mind?
Well, he was a flagman that didn't take any bullshit, and he would always see me in the driver's meeting, and he would say, must be the Nationals, Pennsylvania's here. And then the other thing that was pretty cool was those softball games that they would have over here. He would pitch and stuff and have a good time with that. He was fun-loving but hardcore, and you knew what he meant when he said it.
All right, you got to give me a Doug Clark laugh, Ed. Dave Reef, Doug Clark.
Iconic institution. A friendly face when a friendly face was needed when I was a young kid. A guy you could always look down to that flag stand and have the utmost of confidence that things were under control. And certainly one of the best stories would have been in the couple of years they did the Winter Series down in Phoenix in the God, would this be the mid-90s? Somehow he always ended up needing a ride back, and somehow he always ended up right behind my driver's seat, power drinking Miller Lights. He didn't introduce me to Miller Lite, but I learned a lot about Miller Lite from Doug Clark.
You can still feel him here, can't you, Dave?
You can always feel him here. It was kind of interesting rolling over here, knowing he wouldn't be here. With Justin, though, that makes it a shoe-in. And yeah, I mean, that's why I said the words institution. I mean, his DNA, his fingerprints, his empty Miller Lite bottles and cans are all over this facility. And I'm going to miss that guy for the rest of my life and always remember him fondly.
Mike, when I say Doug Clark, what springs to mind?
Oh, there's so many stories I can tell you about him. I mean, Doug was the ever constant, if nothing else. He had one night he missed in all the time that I know of from Knoxville Raceway, and definitely the leader as far as flagmen throughout the nation.
So I need a laugh. I need a Doug Clark.
That's my best one. I suck at it, but I
What?
do have another Doug story if you want to hear it.
Sure.
So back in 1986, I was still owner of a 360 car, and we thought, let's go to Houston to race 360s. What we didn't know was the rules. We already had fuel injections, and they had 360 carburetors up there, so we had to run with the 410s. Doug walks over to me, just calm as can be. Didn't know me from Adam. Says, "What the hell are you doing here?"
Perfect. And what were you doing there?
I hit the wall eventually. Yeah, it sucked, but he was right. But yeah, Doug was always a straight shooter with me.
Really?
Really.
Blake Anderson, Doug Clark. Put him into words.
Boy, that's tough. Doug had a profound impact on the sport. Like, for the longest time, I would say he was the face of Knoxville Raceway. Like, when you thought of Knoxville, it was hard not to think of Doug waving those big bed sheets on the flag stand. That laugh of his, the personality, like he kind of came off as this gruff guy, and then you got to know him, and he had this wonderful personality that he was one of my favorite people to catch up with every time I came home, because that laugh and just giving him a hard time with his Miller Lite. And he certainly I missed coming home and catching up with Doug, that's for sure.
So everyone's been trying to give me a Doug laugh, Blake. Give me your best. When I say Doug Clark, Johnny Gibson, what springs to mind?
Knoxville Raceway. I mean, that's from the time I first came here as a spectator until this past year. I mean, that was the one constant. Cappy was here forever, but Doug Clark was here for every time that I was here. So I think of Knoxville Raceway when you say Doug Clark, and then I think authority. He was the one that would point the furled flag at a guy and point him to the tail, and then the good times after the race, just hanging out. Again, I'm sure many others have said the laugh and just Doug Clark. He's iconic. That's what I think iconic is when I think of Doug Clark.
I mean, you would have seen him, point Sammy to the rear and all that sort of, it didn't seem to matter who you were, right?
No, it absolutely did not matter.
So, I mean, he's so missed. I mean, he was such a big part of the fabric here.
Yeah, and even though he had kind of reduced his role, he was still here. He was still a part of the fabric of Knoxville Raceway.
Rico, when I talk and I say Doug Clark, what springs to your mind?
Ah, man, I actually over the last decade had an amazing relationship with Doug. Just seeing his history, being a pioneer to the sport of sprint car racing, and coming to Knoxville and racing up at Huset's, and took a couple checkered flags under his belt, and to see Justin kind of integrate into that and go down to 3 and 4 here at Knoxville. I always look forward to standing next to Doug, either sitting on the golf cart or in his stand up there, and just looking back on those special moments, and then him coming through the pits and telling them to fire him up, and he just was this very impactful person to a lot of us here at Knoxville. So it's going to be truly missed, and definitely one to be remembered.
Can you give me your best Doug Clark laugh, please? No, I'm keeping it.
Doug does it the best.
He sure does. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
It was a great thrill to meet you recently. I wish that sometimes you don't meet people at funerals for the first time, but that's where we met. How many members of the Clark family were there when you were growing up? For those that don't know, that you are Doug Clark's brother, one of his many siblings. How many people were in the Clark household, and where did you grow up, Jim?
It was 8, grew up in Sioux Falls. I was kind of in the middle of the family. Douglas was the youngest, and I call him Douglas, and there's a story behind that too. I understand there's kind of a discrepancy about what his name is, Doug or Dougie or...
He hates that. He used to hate being called, didn't he? He used to hate... Hello, Auntie Diane. Nice to see you there, by the way. I thought she's hiding in the background. So you called him Douglas.
Douglas, yeah. And that's when I was nice, being nice. But my mother, when somebody would come over to the house and say, could Dougie come out and play? She says, I call him Douglas. And she'd go in and get the birth certificate and bring it out and say his name is Douglas.
She'd bring the birth certificate out?
And then Douglas was the youngest. All the 4 kids were born at home.
Okay.
Douglas and Sandra were born in the hospital, only kid born in the hospital.
You said that by the time Doug got there, because he was the baby of the family, that he got all the cute stuff, right?
Well, he's the only one that got daycare. The rest of us, given a bag of rocks to go play with. That's how it went. He got all the good stuff.
Yeah, you said right from an early age he wanted to be a star.
Oh, yeah. And he was encouraged, I think, by, the same thing, Wolfgang. Wolfgang says, Doug, you stick with me and you'll be a star someday. Just stick with me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the attitude they went through the whole thing together. That they were like a two-man show, and I think Douglas thought he was as good. He could jump in that car and do just as well as Wolfgang.
And Wolfgang has a very different view of that. That he wasn't a driver and he wasn't a mechanic either. So the flag waver thing was about where he was supposed to end up, I feel.
But yeah, Douglas had the flair, and like I was saying, he's a lot like my brother. It's just to put a little showmanship into the process.
You talked about Doug, becoming a prominent flag waver in the industry, and you being in that mechanical side of things. He started to grow a profile, which he enjoyed, and when you look at it towards the end, he was the most recognised flagman in the world of sprint car racing. Kind of cool. I mean, wow, just a kid from South Dakota, right?
Yeah. One of the things that a lot of people probably didn't know, but he only had one eye.
Yeah.
And there's different stories, kind of sidetracking what you're saying, but it just came to my mind that I always felt responsible for that because, I had built a car for Harold Petrie, for Jackson, and finally got it done. And they were in a race that Saturday, and I had to go to the state track meet in Mitchell, and I worked late on the car and missed the bus, the school, high school bus to Mitchell, and so it was on the finals. It was the second day of the track meet, so the finals, and so I borrowed the boss's car. He had driven it to work. I went down there and took his pickup down there, borrowed his car. I was driving and blew the rods out of the car on the way to Mitchell. So there goes the state championship, and so Douglas wanted to go to Jackson, to see the car run, and I told him he couldn't go because I had to bum a ride myself.
Yeah. Because
that car was gone, so I bummed a ride with Jimmy Matthews and Jay Agee and his Joe Matthews over to Jackson because the car and team had already left. And so that day is the day that he stayed. He was working for Pete the welder, the guy that I was building cars for. Mm-hmm. And they had him, I guess, digging up some rose bushes or whatever, and the handle broke on it and lost his eye. And I had a guilt complex up until about 2 years ago.
Mm.
About, if I'd only made arrangements for him to go. And
that's a lot to carry.
Yeah. And so 2 years ago, I had eye surgery. And first one is for cataracts, but they replaced the lens. First one went flawless. I was back to normal the next day. Second one, I go in and the guy gets the lens off and goes to replace the new one. And he said, uh-oh. And that's his exact comment. He's standing over me with the scalpel, say, uh-oh. And so I thought, his bedside manner needs some improvement. But anyway, they had the lens out, and they just patched the eye, and they had to order a special lens to replace it. So I had to live for 2 weeks with one eye. And Diane was driving me around. We were coming back from Watertown, and I'm in the driver's seat, and we're doing 6-5 around this curve, and I saw this car pull out up on the curve, out from the traffic line to turn, And I saw him pull out, and I told her, I said, that car's going to be in your lane when you get down there. And he's doing 65 and got so close. You know, she'd have slammed on her brake, we'd have slid right through the car. But she says, ditch, and so drove down the ditch, and the car stayed upright. If we'd had a small car, we'd have still been rolling. But anyway, I was, you know, about time and place. I was talking to Doug, and I says, you know, and I'd forgotten who I was talking to, and I says, you know, it's amazing how one eye compensates for the other when you got a bad eye. And he said, oh, really?
Really?
But yeah, that kind of, you know, all that consternation I'd gone through, you know, worrying about being responsible for it, just kind of went out the window from that one comment.
You have his laugh as well. Justin has his laugh. His laugh is so iconic. I find that everyone has taken on, particularly in the last few weeks since he passed, it seems to be a real sense of joy for people, that laugh. And you must have heard that your whole life.
I never paid that much attention to it. And I don't know where you got it from, because my father never laughed.
Okay.
You know, very seldom smiled, but I never heard it. He doesn't, father did. I was going to bring a picture of my father. He could be an identical twin to Douglas.
Yeah, this one in particular blows my mind. That one, that's Luther. That's your dad just there. And how about those socks? That's a wild looking group of operators right there. You said something. You said a number of things that were really profound, Jim, at the service we had at Huset's. The one that struck a chord with everybody was when you referenced Martin Luther King. You were listening to the speech on television. Can you recall that story?
Remembering all that, when I heard Martin Luther King say that someday, you know, he has a dream that his children will be judged based on their character and not their color of their skin. And I thought, you know, he's kind of sarcastically, you know, fat chance, Martin. That's never going to happen. But, you know, the outpouring that I've seen in the last month or 3 weeks for Doug, it had really touched me, especially the way they went out of the way down in Knoxville. You know, they had everybody lined up, and they spent out 45 minutes to an hour honoring Doug, you know, the flag. And I'd never seen that. I've seen, you know, drivers that passed away, you know, track owners, managers. No, none of them got the treatment that Doug did. And it was all based on his job and his character. And, you know, I was thinking, listening to some of the speeches, that there's a lot of character to judge there. Doug had a bunch of characters, so.
But thank you for speaking at Huset's. I'm really glad that you and I talked just before it, and I asked you would you do that, because your speech was profound, as it is today. And I'm really glad that we got to talk about this lunatic a little bit here as well. I mean, when you look at that smile, and now all I can hear is, really? Yeah. When you said that bit about the eye. I never realized that one eye had to compensate for the other.
Can I ask you about Doug Clark? His passing has left a real void in the sprint car culture, and he was a big part of whenever you came here over the years.
Yeah, well, it's like, we've had some laughs, a lot of laughs along the way. There's been some things, you know, and we probably disagreed once, but I overcame it, and we talked about it, and you know, I think it's when me and Lil Payne started on the front, Doug kind of baited me a little bit. Then I got put to the back, so that was Doug's call, but I think we came right back up there and had a great finish.
Let's talk about Doug for a second. Boy, no one doesn't smile when they think of him.
Heartbreak.
Just what a human being, Connie. Like, you must have such funny memories of that guy.
Oh, I do. A lot of funny memories.
I reckon he's still up there at the gates, squabbling with the guy at the pearly gates, checking for where his name is. What do you mean my name's not on the list? I mean, but he was a pivotal part of this place. Like, he was as visible as Cappy, wasn't he? Probably more so than Cappy, actually.
Yeah, you know, I was racing when he started here, and you know, we had a bad incident with the flag stand a couple years before. Yeah, maybe a couple. I can't remember exactly when Doug started. 90. Oh no, wait, before that. The flag stand was in '79, so probably '83 or '4.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was,
Yeah.
when I came here, he was here. So
Okay.
84.
But he had a presence immediately. Gruff.
Yep.
Joking. Yeah, so. But I'm gonna have to deal Thursday, and I know you asked me to speak at that, but I don't know what to say, you know, because everything's been said. But I will. I can think of some funny stories with Doug, quite a few actually, but I couldn't call about them. To get the gist of it. But no, he's missed. In fact, how many times I bit my lip and say, Doug Clark.
Yep.
What's it like for who?
Yeah.
And I see his stand. I think you only got to use that stand once. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I got told it's a little wonky. I got told that he built it and it's a little bit lopsided, and I thought, well, don't change it.
Well, yeah.
Because he was a little wonky too. I think it was perfectly on point.
But tell our story.
When I say Doug Clark, Lynn, what pops into your mind?
Great man, fun man, great personality, just a real character.
So what was your little Brown story?
Several years ago, we were Slideways. A bunch of us hanging out there, and somebody ordered pizza, and they said, "Don't make mine very brown." And Doug shot back, "Well, what's wrong with brown?" Everybody busted out laughing. That was Doug.
Can you give me your best Doug Clark laugh?
Best pour I know.
All right, Johnny Herrera, tell me about Doug Clark and what you think when I say his name.
Awesome flagman. Been to a lot of races he flagged, outlaw races back in the early days. Slick 50 days, he went to Arizona, flagged it. Always had a Miller Lite in his hand. Good time, Chili Bowl every year. He'd stop by the pits, and you know, we have a beer. Just a great individual, great man, and we're all gonna miss him.
All right, you've got the perfect voice for this. Give me a Doug Clark laugh. When I say Doug Clark, what do you think, Ian?
Just an absolute living legend. You know, it's surreal to come here now and not be greeted by him. And you know, he kept us all in line, and it's just we just miss him a lot already. And you know, it's I really feel for Justin and the family, and he's just a super good dude. And I remember pulling into Victory Lane here a lot, and you know, being greeted by Doug and then getting my picture taken with him. And it was just a privilege because he was really one of the cornerstones of Knoxville Raceway. And, you know, he was just one of those names that is synonymous with the Mecca, really. You know, Ralph Capitani, Doug Clark, a lot of those guys helped forge this place into what it is today, and I'll miss him.
Perfect. Can you give me a Doug Clark laugh? Justin Henderson, when I say Doug Clark, what memories come into your mind, and what's your thoughts?
First of all, his laugh, of course, you can't mistake that. And gosh, I've just known him my whole life. So many things come to mind, but like fairness, you know, great at his job. I didn't know him on a personal level a whole lot. I mean, we didn't hang out and drink Miller Lights together or anything like that. I would say that from what I did know him on the professional side, he did his job better than anybody. And he passed that down to Justin, and the bond that they had, obviously any father is respectful of that bond. And being kind of an emotional guy, I suppose it's hard for me to come up with all that right now on camera. But just a great dude altogether. I talked to him for a long time, about a week before he passed when we were out in the Palmyra parking lot, so I'm really happy we had that time together. And yeah, that kind of stuff is not really up my alley.
Can you give me a Doug Clark laugh? Everyone's been trying one. What can you give me?
Oh, let me swallow the frog in my throat.
Okay.
I don't even know. I can't get deep enough. You put me on the spot.
DMJ, when I say Doug Clark, what are your memories of Doug?
Just a hell of a man. Good friend. Just honest and equal with everybody, all the competitors.
When you got to meet him, it was usually a pretty good night, right?
Yeah, most of them were. We had some off nights. that made a great friendship between me and him though over the years. But I was probably guilty of some of them flags that he threw my way. But overall, just a good person.
Can you give me a Doug Clark laugh, DMJ?
I can't. I'm not with the heck of that
JJ Hickle, when I say Doug Clark, what pops into your mind?
Basically the leader of Knoxville Raceway in a lot of ways, the guy that tells you what to do, what not to do, and how to do it. I feel like just the enforcer and the leader ever since I ever been here.
Give me a Doug Clark laugh. Joe Beaver, when I say Doug Clark, what do you think?
I think him rolling by saying, "Get in your car and fire it up, pretty boy." And I tell him I know when to start my car. And the banter back and forth, and I miss it. Yeah, I already miss it. So great dude. Yeah, I mean, great flagman, but I think even better after he got out of the flag stand and got to come around the pits and hang around people and really see who he was a lot better there. So miss the dude, that's for sure.
Can you give me one of his laughs, please? Sawyer, when I say Doug Clark, what are your memories?
Fire him up, let's go. Start your engines, let's go.
How many main event wins have you had with his flag?
Honestly, with him, 0. But Justin, 4. So, yeah, that would have been awesome if I could have put it in Victory Lane with Doug, but haven't done that yet at least.
Can you give me a Doug Clark laugh? When I say Doug Clark to you, Danny Lasowski, what do you think?
The utmost professional by far, and he didn't discriminate anybody. If you got out of line, he was going to put you back, no matter who it was. And for me, I really appreciate that. Just be consistent.
He flagged every one of your well over 100 wins in 360 and 410.
Yes, he did. Every one of them. Got a lot of photos of him and I, and got to be really good friends with him. Again, he's going to be so just dearly missed.
Can you give me a Doug Clark laugh?
The thing I look at is that he'd be the happiest guy in the world if he could sit there and see all the admiration that's going out toward him. that was kind of his goal and his thing. So.